Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Ground and Pound podcast, the show where, as always, we're hitting you with them elbows of knowledge. And as always, I am joined by my co-host, Carlos. What's happening, Carlos?
Absolutely nothing, brother.
And Carlos and I are here today to talk about UFC 319's main event in the middleweight division. Dricus du Plessis taking on Khamzat Chimaev. And I got to say, this is probably one of the fights that, out of all of the super fights, all of the fights that are coming up this year, this is one that I'm pretty excited about. Dricus obviously holding the middleweight belt. I think he's on a 3-fight or 2-fight title reign currently. And Khamzat Chimaev has looked absolutely unstoppable so far, obviously at welterweight and at middleweight. And I'm going to get Carlos's take first. Who do you have in this matchup? How do you see this fight playing out for both guys?
Well, I mean, I feel weird saying it, and I feel very confident in it, and I'm probably wrong. You know what I mean? It's here nor there. But I'm going DDP. Okay, the reason I'm taking DDP is Chimaev's going to have to do exactly what he did to Kevin Holland, Robert Whittaker. You know what I mean? The Leech. He's going to have to do exactly what he did to them to DDP. Can he do it? I'm sure he could do it to anybody. I'm sure he could do it to DDP. The likelihood of it happening on that night when they fight, can he do it? I think DDP is coming ready, and I think he's going to stuff some takedowns. Listen, Chimaev's freestyle wrestling background, that's how you score takedowns. That's the main part of it, is can you get your opponent to the ground? It's a sport of, can I take you down? Yeah, he's going to be able to get him down. I just don't think he can control DDP on the ground. Now, he's got high-level grappling. His submission grappling is phenomenal, as Chimaev. Okay, he could submit anyone. I watched him dominate in just a strictly grappling match. It was Jack Hermanson, pretty easily, too. Dricus du Plessis, he's got good grappling. He hasn't been doing it as long as Chimaev. Chimaev's been doing it since he was a little guy, and DDP picked it up later on in life. Doesn't mean you can't be good. It just means it's second nature for Chimaev. That's what he wants to do. I think du Plessis could actually stuff some of these takedowns. I think more so than stuff them, I think he can get back up. I think once they're on the feet, once it gets to round 2, I think that's where the problems lie for Chimaev. And everybody gets tired, okay? But when you're exploding into takedowns, doubles, singles, everything, you're just blowing right through people's hips trying to get that takedown, which Chimaev does. Takes a lot of energy. Takes a lot of oxygen. And I just don't think he can do that for 5 rounds and beat Dricus. And Dricus is going to throw to the body. He's going to throw to the head. He beats you on every level. He attacks your legs. He attacks your body. He attacks the head. And the longer the fight goes, du Plessis just gets stronger. You expect a guy that bulky to start to slow down and to start to wither. And I was expecting that too in the second fight with Strickland. I guess the first fight was more tricky for him because Strickland's boxing was probably giving him some problems. But after seeing it in the second fight, it was just complete domination by du Plessis on the feet. He has that blitzing, sporadic, very you can't time it. There's no rhythm to it. He just comes in and throws. And that's what's going to make it difficult for Chimaev, because Chimaev is not like an elite striker. And even if you're an elite striker, you're looking for somebody's rhythm. You're looking for the timing. You're looking to throw it off. And I don't think most high-level grapplers, strikers can do that with du Plessis on the feet, which is why he had success as a kickboxer. So now you got him. He's tired. He can't take him down. You got a guy that attacks the body. He attacks the legs. He attacks the head. I think he gets it done.
Yeah, to say that DDP's fighting style is unorthodox is probably an understatement. You watch him back on tape, and I did before we kind of went to talk about this fight overall, and it's just crazy to watch. Some of the stuff that he does is not necessarily unconventional, but it's just guys will throw a 1-2 or whatever the case may be, and the way that they throw their combinations, it's like DDP throws like overhand left, overhand right, and then followed by a head kick. It's like so unorthodox that guys, I think they have a hard time training for it just because it's so unconventional. And obviously, with DDP as well, he's got the ability now where he knows he can go 5 rounds. I think in the first Strickland fight, he was a little bit nervous about fighting, later into the fight. And he even said himself, he'd not been 5 rounds, and there was obviously question marks about his cardio. And I think once he knew that he was able to go a hard 5, that he had that confidence to go a hard 5. And I'm sure in training, he'd done more than 5 rounds before, Shark Tanks or whatever, sparring. But until you actually get in there and you're being hit live and, you're cut, you're bruised, you're bleeding, you actually know, that you can go for 5 hard rounds. And I genuinely believe in this fight that if Khamzat doesn't get Dricus out of there in the first sort of round and a half, I think Dricus starts to take over. I think DDP is obviously going to have to fight off takedowns early, as we've seen with Chimaev. He does have striking as well in the fight against... what's his name? Gerald Meerschaert obviously came out, one straight right hand, put him down. That's all she wrote. But in the fight against Gilbert Burns and Usman, Gilbert Burns gave him a good run for his money. He was able to, he struggled to get Burns out of there. He was, putting heavy on the pressure. He did get chinned in that fight, and we saw how tough and how, durable Khamzat can actually be. And even in the Usman fight, he wasn't able to get Usman out of there. And people have said, Usman's knees are terrible. He's an old man. Gilbert Burns hasn't looked that great. But my argument would be is that's at welterweight. This is at middleweight. And I think Khamzat looks better at middleweight. I think he doesn't have to suck himself down as far as, getting down that amount of weight. He is a very, very big middleweight to begin with. I think Khamzat comes out here aggressive. I think he gets the takedown early, but I think Dricus survives. I think I wouldn't be surprised if DDP tries to wrestle early, even if he doesn't get the takedown himself, just so that way he can kind of withstand, kind of wrestle on his own terms, so to speak. But I think the thing with Khamzat, he throws a lot of straight punches. I think DDP can time, with overhand rights and lefts that he likes to throw with some of the straight shots. So I do expect Khamzat to be able to land, but I just expect the more powerful punches later on in the fight to come from DDP. And one of the things that I think is kind of crazy here is, I don't know if you saw this, Carlos, but DDP is actually plus 170 underdog currently. That's what they set the line at. So the guy with the belt is currently the underdog, so to speak. And that just goes to show how high people are, including the sports books are, on Khamzat Chimaev. Obviously, he's walked through and absolutely dog walked, so to speak, a lot of people, not just on the feet, but on the ground. Obviously, a great persona with him. I kill everybody. He's been a fan favorite since he came into the UFC in the COVID times. And I think this is a great fight. I'd like to see how this one plays out. I hope both guys stay healthy, because I definitely want to see it, UFC 319 in Chicago. As far as this fight, obviously, I know you said you've got DDP. Do you think, how confident are you in DDP for this one, Carlos, as the underdog?
Well, I would, if I know he's the underdog, which you just told me, I would, if I was going to place a bet, I'll tell you, I would place it on Du Plessis and feel very confident that I was going to make something bet. Like I said, Chimaev's dangerous. He's very dangerous. But his danger lies in the first round. Now, there was Tyson, okay? And he used to finish guys in the first round. But to be honest, he's fighting tomato cans. You know what I mean? Like, he's fighting guys that they know he's going to beat in the first round. This is not that kind of matchup. It's Chimaev has the skill to do exactly what he's done to Robert Whittaker, to Dricus in the first round. But I don't think he can actually implement that right away on somebody like Du Plessis. I think that Du Plessis actually can get back up if taken down, and I think he'll start to wear on Chimaev a little bit.
I did notice as well when I watched the Usman Chimaev fight back that even though again at welterweight that Chimaev was able to get takedowns late in that fight in the third round, but obviously Usman did take that fight on short notice, and there's no denying that Usman is over the hill in terms of his performances recently and overall in his career and the knee injuries. So what you want to take away from that, or at least what I took away from that, was that, Khamzat is obviously improving in terms of his cardio and his ability. And I do think that that's maybe because he was getting over that whole COVID or viral illness that he had. He was sick for quite a long period of time, which even he said that affected him, and he had to pull out of fights and things like that. So I do think that that could play a factor, but I know that he went and trained over in Russia with the Olympic level, that camp that he was for the Robert Whittaker fight. I remember them talking about it on the Embedded and the Countdown. He went up into the Russian mountains to train with the Olympic coach of the Russian national team for wrestling. So I expect to see him obviously constantly improving, especially with the wrestling. But I do think there is a world where Khamzat comes out here, and if he doesn't get the finish early, he is able to kind of win rounds 2 and 3 in a closer matchup, kind of getting a takedown, but DDP gets up, both guys exchange, but Khamzat edges the round out, and then DDP has to kind of win rounds 4 and 5. And 3, we're kind of talking about, who won that one? The tide's kind of turned. I could also see that as well. Kind of a Khamzat onslaught early and then a kind of comeback for DDP. I do think that's also a possibility as well if Khamzat doesn't get the finish early. But I think this is a great fight overall. I love both guys. I do think that DDP is kind of, I don't want to say overachieved, because I think that people didn't necessarily know his ceiling coming, into the UFC. And I also think that he has some of the low-key, the best trash talk online as well. If you haven't seen some of the funny shit that DDP comes out with online, check it out. But I think both guys are great. Is there anything that you want to say about this matchup, Carlos, before we wrap things up?
That the cut to 170 now, when he fought Usman, I believe if Usman had a training camp, you could talk about the knees, you could talk about him being over the hill. But if he had a training camp for that, the way he put it on him in the last round, if he were confident in himself enough cardio-wise to do that in the first or the second, I think that could have changed the tide of that fight. But now we're playing like the what if he had that time to train. That's fine. Like, I just think that Chimaev is going up against a guy who can nullify some of that wrestling. Now, when you're training with high-level wrestlers all the time, that's your game plan. You're going to come in, you're going to try to take them down. Once you get them down in round 1, possibly 2, you got to make sure you get that finish, because the strength you're going to come in for that takedown, and you're going to solidify that takedown, you've got to be able to get that finish. And I just don't think he's going to. And that's, I don't know, like, 50-50, he can. He might finish it there because he is skilled. But what I'm saying is I just think du Plessis is going to get back up, and he's going to punish him.
Yeah, I think DDP is very underrated, but we've given you what we think is going to happen. But let us know in the comments section, Ground and Pounders. Let us know, are you Team Chimaev or you Team DDP? The fight is scheduled for Chicago, UFC 319 later on in the year. Let us know in the comments section who you guys have. And hit that like and subscribe button for the Ground and Pound podcast. And if you're new to the channel, we have all types of content, MMA content here. We do PFL full card breakdowns, UFC full card breakdowns, best bets, recaps, you name it. Hit the like and subscribe button. And Carlos, do you have anything you want to say to the people before we let them go?
No, I got nothing to say. Just I guess make sure to like and subscribe. Since you asked me, I might as well say something. Make sure you like and subscribe, and check out the next video we got coming, because there's more to come.
Yep.
DDP.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Peace.